Hello, Gradcast family. I'm Vince Greco.
And I'm Navir Walkowitz.
Today's Gradcast will pack quite a punch. The class of 2029 is here. A few of our Air Force Academy athletes are drawing national attention. If you're planning a trip to USAFA, you'll want to stay tuned. It's a bit difficult to get on base these days. And Navir will be joined by our Executive Vice President of Alumni Relations, Baja, class of 2000. Their guest today, Rick Wright, class of 74, the AOG chapter president in North Texas.
Yes, so let's jump right in. Let's start with the news, Vince.
Sounds good, Navir. Let's do it. Back on June 25th, the association and foundation welcomed the class of 2029 to the Academy for Appointee and Family Welcome Day. It was a record-breaking crowd as over 3,000 people were here for the festivities.
What a record. And I think it's just really a testament to the fact that so many families are excited for their appointees to be joining the class of 2029. So we certainly saw that in force. You said a C. I'm going to call it, the airfield, so to speak, because we are at the Air Force Academy. But what an awesome sight for sure.
It really was. And it was the first time we were able to host this event at our new building, Wecker Hall and Yost Plaza. To have the vendors, the families, all of them able to spread out, get to know each other just a little bit more about the Academy and each other. It was just a wonderful sight.
Absolutely. And I think, there was a lot of that mingling happening organically anyway. And also something I wanted to note, I wanted to shout out to the class of 79. They are the class of 2029's legacy class. And that gold class showed up in force. You could not miss the gold caps and those shirts with the gold and silver to really highlight the class of 2029 as they are a silver class. It was wonderful to see the legacy class out there really bonding with their class of 2029 as well.
And something new that took place this year with the open space that we now have, well, at least momentarily something new we tried. We were able to line up the appointees in their squadrons, a first chance to see their new squadron mates, get to know them. Really cool, but then the rains came and it was still cool.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite moments about the Appointee Family Welcome Day was also having the legacy parents. So those are Service Academy graduates of the cadets coming into the class of 29. They actually had an opportunity to take a photo with their cadet on the Heritage Bridge. So that class of 59 Heritage Bridge really, again, connecting the past with the present. So I think heritage is so rich and full and connected here at our Air Force Academy.
There is no doubt about that. Well, now for some not so great news. As of June 14th, non-military ID holders will now only be allowed to enter through the Academy's South Gate, located off of Interstate 25's exit 150.
Yes, you're right, Vince. In fact, I think it was late in June that the Academy put out some information, and you can always find the latest. We want to make sure you are getting the latest updates directly from the Academy. You can find that at usafa.edu. And right on their homepage, they have information. But essentially, they're helping to quicken that access by, if you are a DoD ID holder, so if you have a government ID, if you are a veteran, et cetera, and you have your retiree ID, you can get on base, and they encourage you to go through the North Gate. But if you do not have that, you need to make sure you're going to the website to gain access and then go through the South Gate where they actually have the visitor center.
It's tough, but and it might be a bit of an inconvenience, but however, we do encourage you to come on base, visit your United States Air Force Academy. As we've said numerous times, Navir, the landscape is changing on a monthly basis.
So many amazing things to see as well. But you can also find that information on our brand new website. We are so excited that our association and foundation website has evolved. We actually had two websites in the past, Vince. You're very familiar with this. We had the Air Force Academy Foundation website, and we had the Association of Graduates website. And frankly, there was just so much information. It was really hard to navigate. It was basically an evolution of time where just a lot of information was housed. And now it is streamlined. It's easy to use. It's easy to understand and navigate. Wow, it looks so great.
It really does look great, and it really demonstrates, as we have spoken in the past, and we'll talk more about it in the future, It really shows how we have come full circle as an organization. One website, one building, one family. I like the fact now that I can just pop down the hall and bother you and our producer Ted anytime I want instead of having to get on a Zoom call or a phone call. It's great. And I do love the website, and I do like how we have all come together.
Yes. And we'll talk more about what that looks like in our update, but you can see this new website at usafa.org, usafa.org.
Please check it out. Let us know your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. We take any feedback, but it really is a beautiful website and user-friendly. Time now for a few updates, starting with athletics.
Yes. Tell us about yours first, Vince. I think we were talking gymnastics.
You are right about that. Recent Air Force grad Patrick Hopes was named to the team that will represent Team USA at the FISU World University Games. Those take place July 16th through the 27th in Essen, Germany. Hoops is a two-time World Cup medalist and back-to-back NCAA champions on the pommel horse for the Air Force Academy. What a great story.
That is simply incredible. And other things happening as well in the outdoor realm. We had our outdoor track and field thrower, Texas Tanner. He's a firstie, rising firstie this year, but he's in Tiger 10, huzzah, and he actually made some Falcon history. So this past June, he became the first Falcon in 60 years to secure All-American honors in a men's throwing event at the NCAA Division I Outdoor Track and Field Conference. Well, you might be already following him, as you know that he qualified for the Olympic trials in the last summer games, and so he is certainly a name you're going to want to follow. But Texas Tanner and Coach Lilly, his throwing coach, just really, really recognized, and what an incredible season for that rising firstie.
Our track and field program has had some incredible success, so congratulations to Texas Tanner. We salute these great achievements and hope to bring you more throughout the upcoming year.
Absolutely. And we're going to do our best to make sure you know when all those events are happening, not even just in Colorado Springs, but around the globe, because you might be in an area where you have an opportunity to go cheer on the Falcons. So watch our website for some of that information. Of course, you can always go to Go Air Force Falcons. I think it is .com. Let me confirm that.
It is confirmed. You are
Okay,
spot on.
Excellent.
All right. On July 25th, we finally open our new alumni building, Wecker Hall and Yost Plaza.
Yes.
We are finally one big family, Navir.
Yes, it is. That song came to mind. We are family. I don't know. It came in my mind because we're all together. We're no longer in separate buildings. You know, Vince, I can actually reach out and touch you. I don't have to drive across the base to the wing headquarters building just to have a conversation in person. But right there in Wecker Hall, about 70 of us are in this beautiful building. And it's really part of this Wecker Hall and, Yost Plaza, the whole Doolittle campus. We're really able to connect our grads, our staff, everyone together. In fact, at the Appointee Family and Welcome Day, it became really apparent what this vision has been to see 3,000 people really have the space to connect, to network, to mingle, but also go into Doolittle Outfitters and get their Falcon and USAFA gear on. I mean, just incredible. So we're so excited to work from a beautiful, beautiful facility and, be able to converse with each other.
And you mentioned that there, we do invite you to stop by Doolittle Hall, shop at Doolittle Outfitters, get your gear, enjoy a stroll along the Heritage Trail, one of the Academy's best kept secrets. So much to do and see.
I really believe it's actually a part of the destination when you're coming to the Air Force Academy. Maybe in the past you didn't think about coming to Doolittle Hall. It might have just been the place where you in-processed, but it really is the destination point for heritage about our Air Force Academy. So certainly encourage you to visit the area. Well, now it's time for our special feature. Very honored and excited to introduce a special guest joining us, as I mentioned, from North Texas. But here in the room with me is my colleague and friend, Mike Baja Cornelius, class of 2000, serving as Executive Vice President for Alumni Relations here at our association and foundation. He's going to introduce our special guest. So, Baja, over to you.
Hi, Navir. It's my pleasure to introduce Rick Wright, class of 1974, President of the North Texas chapter, distinguished chapter down there in Texas. And he has a great story to tell about some of the things that he recently did to support a recently graduated cadet candidate and soon-to-be cadet, Ava Moore.
Yes, and before we get into that, Rick, so first, Rick, are you there with us? Thanks for being here.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much. So we really want to get to know more about the incredible work your chapter did. Might we start with first how you became a chapter president and a little bit more about the North Texas chapter as well?
Sure, thanks. So I initially volunteered to be on the board. Kirk Bell is a very good friend of mine. He was chapter president. I believe it was about 2014, so I volunteered to be on the board and then volunteered to organize a Founders Day event. We had Troy Calhoun come down as our speaker, and that went well. And Mike Giles, class 67, was my predecessor, and he said it was time for him to step down, and I scratched my head and someone thought I was volunteering, so here I am 10 years later. But it's an honor. It's been a great experience, and I've been very blessed to get to know many of the grads, Air Force Academy grads here in North Texas.
Amazing. And not only do you have one of the largest chapters, I would say you certainly have the most active. You have many facets of what your chapter is doing. Maybe highlight some of those different themes or buckets of activities that you do on a regular basis for our listeners.
Yeah, well, thanks for that opportunity. When I first got involved, and I moved here in 1980, so graduated in 74, 6 years active in Abilene, moved back to Dallas, and joined the Air National Guard. So the chapter here was started in 81, and I moved here in 1980 and really was not involved with the chapter for probably 20 years. We had a annual flag football competition against West Point and Navy grads that I participated in. I organized a softball competition. But there really were only two events that we had in the North Texas area other than those competitions. We had a Founders Day dinner, and then we'd have a watch party for the away Service Academy game. And I occasionally went to one or two of those, but just wasn't involved until Kurt got me involved. This year, we'll probably do 50 plus events. So one of the keys, I think, to having a successful chapter, and I would not recommend anyone try to do 50 events in their first year as chapter leadership, but we've grown this in the 10 years that I've been involved. We have a very large and active board. We have what are called class coordinators. We have cause coordinators. So it's recruiting other grads to get involved and take other leadership roles in organizing events. But I think the more events that you have, our goal is to get every grad in North Texas, and we think there are just under 1,000. And right now, we're at about 450 of the grads who live here come to one event a year. My goal for the rest of this year is to push that over 500. So we definitely have the most active chapter in terms of number of events and also in the percentage of grads who come to one event. And it's just so important to keep grads engaged here locally. I think it's the most important thing for graduate engagement is that they come to an event and meet other grads and interact with other grads. We do a lot of things to interact with cadets. We do a lot of things to interact with parents, with candidates who want to go to the academy, and with the community. So we have a whole wide range of all types of events and activities to try and appeal to grads of all ages and all demographics.
Well, that is really incredible. And it's outstanding how you're not only getting, having so many events for grads to find ways to connect with each other, but that you're having such a wonderful turnout. I'd like to ask you about, you said cause coordinators, and I think that's really important. It obviously talks about you have particular points of contact that are in charge of facilitating behind a cause. And I'm curious how you came to know about Ava Moore, and if you might just share with our listeners, because they might not be as familiar with her story coming from your town. Okay,
well, let me address the cause coordinator question first, if I could. So Kirk Bell, when he was president, and I talked about how important it was to try and have service components of the chapter, to have volunteer opportunities for grads to get involved, following up on the service before self value from the Air Force Academy and from the Air Force. So one of the first things we did was we set up a partnership with a homeless veterans organization called Patriot House, and we have 2 events a year to feed the homeless veterans. We've donated about 200 bikes. So that's one of our causes. And Rob Dooley, an 85 grad, has taken that one and now pretty much runs it on his own. So, I put out a communication and we have volunteers just for that event. We feed them twice, once Memorial Day weekend and once around Veterans Day. We have a very, very large presence at Reese across America. So we'll have at least 100 grads and families show up, and we now have 7 sections of Dallas-Fort Worth National Cemetery where we lay the wreaths on the markers for all of the veterans out there. And again, it's just been a great cause. We support an underprivileged community in North Texas called Bonton Farms. We partner with Operation Gratitude. So each one of those causes, if you will, have a coordinator. And then for our major events, in addition to Founders Day, we have an event called the Long Blue Line Dinner, which is the first Monday after the cadets come home for Christmas break. And we'll typically have 25 to 30 cadets, about 50 to 60 grads, and about 100 candidates who want to go to the academy. And so the cadets will talk about life at the academy. The grads talk about life after the academy and what they've done. And then we have ALOs and folks in admissions to talk to the candidates about the application process. We have a big send-off event that we just had 2 weeks ago for the class of 29 for the parents and the appointees. So we do a lot of events, and I've recruited someone to take that event and be the coordinator in terms of the venue and all of the arrangements of setting it up. So that takes a burden off of me and gets them involved. And we have usually 1 or 2 deep, if you will, in terms of organizing those events to get people engaged.
It certainly takes a village,
It
doesn't
does,
it?
yeah.
Yes. So your cause coordinators and your event coordinators are all working hand in hand. Tell us a little bit more about how the chapter got involved with Ava Moore.
Well, the first notification that I got was from Tanya Snook. Tanya's our president of our North Texas Parents Club. We have an incredible relationship with the Parents Club. It was very important to me. My mom and dad were president of the Parents Club while I was at the academy, both my junior and senior year. So one of the priorities for me when I took over as chapter president was to really build a strong relationship with the parents. And so Tanya had gotten notification that we had lost a prep school graduate, a candidate, an appointee. At that time, that was on Saturday night, not too long after the accident occurred. She was kayaking on Grapevine Lake and was struck by a woman on a jet ski. And so we heard the news. We knew that it was one of ours, but at that point, even the name had not been released pending notification of family. So it wasn't until Sunday that we found out that it was Ava. And Ava's parents had been to a parents club meeting. They had a hail and farewell meeting earlier in May to honor the class of 25 parents who were about to go to graduation and to welcome the class of 29 parents of the appointees. So I spoke at that, and Ava's parents were there. I didn't know them, didn't have any interaction with them because this was 2 weeks prior to the event. So as soon as we heard what had happened, Tanya and I both reached out. We contacted, I think Baja was very involved at that point, probably because of his relationship with the prep school. And then I was put in contact with Master Sergeant Brandon McKinley from the prep school, and he was our point of contact to help make all of the arrangements to support the preppies who were coming down for the service and just do whatever that we could. And unfortunately, this is, in my tenure, the 3rd time that we've had a tragedy such as this. Tim Barber, class of 2020, was killed Christmas or New Year's Eve of 2016. He and his dad were flying their private aircraft and had a midair. So we supported Tim's service. And then in the summer of 2021, Nick Duran, class of 23, was tragically killed flying his aircraft. So we had, unfortunately, experience of doing this and, helping people who wanted to come from, not just the academy, but, the prep school had graduated 7 days prior to Ava's accident. So most of the cadet candidates and appointees for the class 29 had scattered and gone home for leave before they reported for I-Day today. So getting them here was a great challenge. Ava had played basketball, so the basketball team was here in unison and in total support of the basketball coach. So it was a great outpouring. Ava was well loved by her community. She was an incredible young woman. The prep school basketball team last year went 21-0,
Right.
She was one of the leaders on that team and was going to be one of the leaders on the Falcon women's basketball team that's coming up here for the next 4 years. So she was well loved, and I've gotten to know her parents, Robert and Tamara, are incredible people. Her younger brother, Robert the Fourth, is graduating from high school this year and is potentially interested in going to the academy. So we're doing everything we can to wrap our arms around him and help in that process. But it was just a great outpouring. I put out an email, just as I had done with Nick and with Tim, asking for volunteers to host the appointees who might be coming in. And we had probably 50 people. And this was on we got notification of the service. And so on Wednesday, through the conversations with Master Sergeant McKinley, we knew that the service was going to be Saturday. And so on Wednesday night, I put out a request to see who might be able to host that weekend. And this was Memorial Day weekend. So it was, very, very busy, obviously. And we had an overwhelming support. 50 people opened up their home, said, we'll pick them up at the airport, take them to the service. And it's just a testimony to, how grads are willing to give back and support, not only people who want to go to the academy, but their families as well. So to follow on to that story, I'll be happy to answer questions, but to kind of bring closure to it, the following weekend after the service, we had our send-off event, which is something that we do annually for all of the appointees. So we had, there are 53 appointees from the North Texas area who arrived at the academy. We had 37 of them at the event, plus 6 young men and women who will be going to prep school this coming year, and all of their parents. So we had about 90 parents plus the appointees and the preppies at this send-off event. And so the cadets who were there and the grads talked to the appointees, and Tanya, the Parents Club president, and I talked to the parents, just giving them all the information we can give them about what to expect, once I-Day hits and through BCT and all that kind of thing. And in conversation with Robert, because we're setting up an honorarium for Ava, that will be a perpetual, at least for the next 4 years, a gift a gift card that will be awarded to one of her classmates with a team of some participants from the women's basketball team and some preppies in the class of 29. We'll decide who the recipient is with the input from the Moore family, and then our chapter is funding that. So I've been in conversations with Robert about, executing that and what made most sense for them, how we could best honor Ava. And he knew about the send-off event, and I extended an invitation. I said, I know it would probably be incredibly difficult. He spoke at Ava's service, as did Ava's brother, which had I lost my daughter, I would not have been able to carry on a conversation, but it was just an exceptionally eloquent tribute to her that her dad gave. And so he came to our send-off event and talked to all of what would have been her classmates and the parents about just how the Long Blue Line had come together and supported him and his wife and his son. And it was just, great testimony of really what a family we are.
Gosh, Rick, I'm really thankful that you shared all of that, and I'd like to invite Baha, because he was part of this journey with you. What else might you add that you saw really coming together from the North Texas chapter family?
I think Rick summarized it really well, but what he didn't provide, too humble to kind of go into it, but he was obviously very involved right away. I think he and I had several phone calls, email exchanges, texts to figure out how they could support in any way, shape, or form. So very active, proactive, wasn't waiting for somebody else to do those types of things. So Rick took the initiative to reach out almost immediately. Rick, I can't even remember. You might have been first to contact me, or maybe I asked you if you were tracking, but regardless, you were very detail oriented and wanted to see things through on the front side during the ceremony and the support for the families through the graduate community, and then on the back end, as you mentioned, with the support to her classmates as well.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, and again, the communication's critical, and unfortunately, as I said, we had we had done the same thing with Nick Duran. Nick was a baseball player at the academy, and he was killed the summer between his sophomore and junior year, and would have been playing baseball, and a huge supporter of Falcon baseball and a dear friend of Kaz. And so Kaz and I had that same level of communication. Kaz was able to get a C-17 to come down and we brought about 60 grads. The honor guard came very early, but then we brought about 60 cadets, flew into Alliance Airport, and we had grads pick up and carry them to Cleburne, which is about an hour south, and provide housing for them, and then we were at the service. So it's critical that, and that the AOG and or the Academy permanent party have the contact with the chapter presidents. We're here. We just need to know, the information as soon as we can get it. And so thanks again for, the information you provided. Master Sergeant Brandon was great. Master Sergeant McGinley at the prep school, he's an AMT for Ava Squadron, and he was great in terms of additional communication as well.
Well, Rick, this was really incredible. Might I ask you just to share with the graduate community, if you were to offer some words of encouragement and getting engaged, being active as part of the Long Blue Line, what might you share?
Well, I certainly, and when I've spoken at Chapter President's Conference and we shared information, we're fortunate. We have a lot of grads who live here, so we've got we now have American Airlines and Southwest Airlines. We did have a large presence of Delta pilots, but we've got a lot of pilots who live here, so we've got a high concentration of grads. But just having folks who live here doesn't necessarily get people engaged. So I think it's having multiple events and getting as many people as you can involved as early as possible to feel like they're part of building the chapter. And so, I've tried to add one new event or one new program every year. So after 10 years, obviously we've got a very robust calendar. But each chapter, if they would just take on, one thing each year and build a leadership team, then it's a process of small steps that hopefully will get to the engagement that we have here. I'm very, very proud, and I'm full disclosure here. I have not ever been back to a reunion at the Air Force Academy. I'm not proud of that. It's a fact, but I share that because I think it's important. So my 10-year reunion, I was very involved in business, was traveling, didn't come back to the reunion. My 20-year reunion, I was activated with my guard unit. So there's reasons. I should really say no excuse, sir, no excuse, ma'am, for not coming back to reunion. But that's just the way that it is. I've not been back, and my squadron at the academy, our class, we were not close as a class. We had 5 intercollegiate athletes and 3 pre-med and a falconer and 2 in the Glee Club. So we didn't do things as a class in my squadron. But because of the efforts that I've put into the chapter here, I have 500 very, very dear friends who are all graduates of the Air Force Academy here in North Texas. And so I go back to the academy, follow the baseball team. I go to a football game. My son lives in Denver. Going back to the academy now is very special to me. But I missed my 50th reunion. I chose to be here because we had about 180 people at our watch party for the football game, my homecoming reunion. And I would have rather be here than back at the academy. So it's just, I think building graduate engagement is the most important thing to the success of our Long Blue Line. And I think it's most successful at the local level. People go back to reunion once every 10 years. They're not really engaged with the Air Force Academy. If they come to 2 or 3 of our events and get involved in something like the Ava tragedy or serving homeless veterans or laying wreaths, if they get involved with other grads doing things, if they interact with cadets, and we have I take the cadets who come home for Christmas and come to our Long Blue Line event and talk about the academy. The next day I take them over to the base and they get a ride in a C-130, which was my old guard unit, and they get to see an F-35 taxi takeoff and recovery for an F-35 formation because of grads that we have over at those 2 units. So interaction with cadets is critical for grads to stay engaged, and the chapters need to do everything that they can. We're fortunate here. We've got Joint Reserve Base Fort Worth, We have grads over there. I know there are some chapter presidents who are very frustrated because they don't get support from the bases that are near them. And that's something that needs to be addressed at the academy and at the Air Force level.
Well, Rick, it has truly been a pleasure having you on. I think that I just have one final question, unless Baha, you have any for him as well.
Negative.
Okay. So, Rick, I think my question is, how do we clone you? Where do you get all this energy from? No, but seriously, thank you so very much for being on with us. I think sharing the story not only of Ava Moore and her family, but of the entire North Texas chapter and this community that you have alongside you is really special. And we thank you for taking time today.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. And again, it's an honor and a privilege for me. And I'm very blessed. I give a lot. But I get back a lot, in terms of the friendships and the feelings that we have when we do send, all the people from North Texas who are on the ramp today in the footsteps. That's great. We go to their graduations, and so thanks for everything that you all do, and we'll see you in July.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Wow, thanks, Navir. Great interview with you, Baha, and Rick Wright. Moving forward in Gradcast, we'd like to do more of that, connecting with our chapters and organizations around the country, get chapter presidents involved, Parents Club members involved. Great interview and well done.
Thanks so much, Vince. And just like we always do, we always encourage our chapters, our grads. If you're doing things out there, we want to help share it right here on Gradcast. And this is what we do, right? We love this engagement. And so anytime we can bring our grads, our community together, we love to do it.
Well, you're doing a great job of it. And speaking of that and bringing grads together, the Long Blue Line Weekend is coming up July 24th through the 27th, including the ever-popular March Back.
Up next on Gradcast, a message from our partners at the Colorado Springs Airport and events you won't want to miss.
With every departure from the Colorado Springs Airport, my heart skips a beat. With every arrival, I look forward to the easy drive home to my loved ones. It's like every new flight they offer is a new destination to discover. Fly Colorado Springs Airport and fall in love with Colorado's small airport today. Learn more at flycos.com.
Gradcast is back, and we have events to share. On Thursday, we actually are kicking off our Next Gen Advisory Council. If you're not familiar with this, our CEO, Mark Hilley, started communicating with grads 1995 and forward about a year ago, was sending out about bi-monthly communications to this Next Gen community. And this year, we are standing up a Next Gen Advisory Council just to help connect us better, your association and foundation connecting better with the graduates 1995 and forward. And so we're going to work with this advisory council. They'll have a strategy session on Thursday, followed just by, like what Vince said, Friday is March Back. If you're an Air Force Academy grad, you get to march back with the basics from Jacks Valley. Put on your boots, put on your running shoes, whatever is comfortable. You get to march back that 5+ miles. And then we have, what else do we have that weekend? We got board meeting. Both of our boards are in town.
Here's what I think is so important.
Yes.
You've talked about our board of directors and the wonderful things that they are doing and they have done for the academy. They're leaving their legacy. They're leaving their mark. But we are about ready to pass that baton. Our first graduating class was in 1959, and we just welcomed the class of 2029. We have 7 decades now of cadets here who are either here, who have gone through here. And that next generation that you're working so closely with, they will be the next one to leave their legacy and to make a difference.
Thanks so much for that, Vince. I couldn't agree more, and really excited because we do span 7 decades of Air Force Academy graduates, and everyone is important. Every voice matters. And so to your point, being able to understand how we can really make sure that baton handoff is done so well, that's what we're in for. So more to come on that. And then next week, though, Vince, we have the Prep School in Processing Day.
Another exciting day here at the Academy. And again, we will host that at Doolittle Hall and Wecker and Yost Plaza. My daughter was a preppy. I'm going to give a big shout out right now to C Squad.
My first son was Alpha. He's a Raptor.
That's awesome. I remember my daughter's preppy I day it certainly was a day to remember, and it really did prepare her for not just that prep school year, but the next 4 years on the Hill.
Absolutely. We can't wait to welcome them, those cadet candidates and their families. We actually do a prep school in processing kind of information event in Doolittle Hall. So it is a wonderful way for those families to connect with each other as well.
Spot on, Navir. Now, we also want to let the audience know that there will be a base change of command taking place this month. A big deal here at the Academy.
Yes, and just wanted to go back to, we want to thank Colonel Amy Glisson. She's a USAFA grad. You'll hear her. She'll say, fired up. But we want to thank her for being an outstanding Air Base Wing commander and wishing her all the best. Well, I want to round us out talking about our upcoming Falcon Nation tailgates. If you've not been to a Falcon Nation tailgate, it is certainly one you don't want to miss. We partner with athletics. It is the tailgate in town. So when you come to an Air Force Academy game and we have a tailgate, you get to experience all of our partners, great food, great music, games, connection. I mean, it really is the place to be. And you can register now for any of those home game tailgates at usafa.org/events. So what do you predict, Vince? How are we going to do this year?
Well, that is the $1 million question, Navir. First off, though, Falcon Alley is the place to be on game day. Now, as far as the season, if you remember last year, we didn't start off well. We finished strong. We were on a bit of a roll. So I think we're going to be okay. I don't think we're going to get off to as slow a start as we did a year ago, only for the fact that we had to play a lot of young players last year who got a lot of experience, so they'll come back bigger, faster, wiser, stronger. I'm not going to go out and give us an exact record, but I do think that we will finish above 500.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to kick it off with Parents Weekend against the Bucknell Bison on the 30th of August. And so we're going to kick off that season and see how it goes.
Well, again, I say above 500, but the bottom line, Navir, is we need to beat Army and Navy.
Yes, I'm with you on that, 100%.
All right, moving forward. Navir, I am pretty darn sure you spend nearly 100% of your time in this very studio because you have a lot going on.
Absolutely. So much to share. I mean, coming at you from our new studio in Wicker Hall. Be sure to check out our most recent Long Blue Leadership podcast presentations. Of course, we had Dr. Torres. Most recently, we released General Sherman. So he is the Vice Superintendent of the Air Force Academy, class of 95. What an incredible conversation. There were a couple moments where I think both of us got a bit emotional. And I encourage you, if you want to be inspired, you need to listen to this leader because he will just touch your heartstrings in a way you weren't even prepared for. And then we also rounded out Long Blue Leadership with our Season 3 retrospective. I had an opportunity to sit down with our Senior Vice President of Communications and Marketing, Mr. Wyatt Hornsby, and we spent some time reflecting on several of our favorite moments in Season 3. It's a great way for you to kind of pick up some pieces on different conversations, but also encourage you to visit all of our episodes of Long Blue Leadership at longblueleadership.org. So here's how you can stay connected with us. We want to make sure you're reaching us in the ways that make sense to you. First off, if you didn't know, we launched a new app for our portal. You can go to portal.usafa.org, or you can find the Long Blue Line portal in your app store right there on your mobile device. You can also be sure to find us anytime here at gradcast@usafa.org. So you can email Vince and me, and we can make sure that we get what's going on in your neck of the woods on Gradcast. Of course, you can find all of our information right from our brand new website, usafa.org. Again, hit those events, usafa.org/events, and Gradcast, usafa.org/Air Force Gradcast. It's all there. Whew, what did I miss, Vince?
Well, not a darn thing. And as I've said many times before, you can never call in sick. And if you do, you'll have to call in and record that segment from your deathbed or wherever you might be. Or I'm going to have Ted put on the monitor and hear all of that information so that even I can get through it. You're awesome. Great job, Navir.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Vince. Well, this has been an amazing Gradcast. We love connecting with you. This is our July Gradcast, so I'm Navir Walkowitz.
And I'm Vince Greco.